So before we even continue going over what else is going to happen for these videos, Kenny Omega responded over to Jim Ross and, ugh, man, I'd rather be a bigot cuck dimwit e-drones and guy that thinks I'm the WWE champion. During the Grilling JR podcast, I think that's what he calls it, Hall of Famer had a chance to address the controversy, and he had declared that he wasn't besmirching Kenny Omega's name at all. That couldn't be farther from the truth. We have a little controversy going about it. That just felt like some petty shit that Kenny Omega awarded over Jim Ross's opinion. How, like, I am sick and tired. Listen, I understand I'm young, but I've already been watching pro wrestling, and the whole landscape of pro wrestlers' mentality, their egos, their backstage controversies have been coming over to contents of their own, like, self-esteem, and it just drowns out the rest of their goddamn intelligence. Just knowing Kenny just to be degrading a man that's been part of pro wrestling for decades over an opinion of who the best wrestler is and how Orton is obviously better, just over in a nepotism standpoint, a genetic standpoint, physically. He has more over moves than Kenny Omega. He's more well mainstream than Kenny Omega, and it's like he's already highly acclaimed as the best pro wrestler. You cannot denounce that. Like, I've watched many Kenny Omega matches, and I'd rather watch a boring Orton match that ends with a RKO out of nowhere than a bullshit 40-minute work rate fest that doesn't come with any psychology, one neck breaking move with no story. And just to, like, not be professional, it's like, oh, I respect Jim Ross's opinion, and I'm the world champion. Like, he didn't even sell him over like that. These guys are still having this indie effing mentality, and it's just so degrading because these wrestlers just think that all of them deserves to be over in the top of conversation when they know that they ain't shit. Most of them are either all Dusty Rhodes that wrestle like Canyon, coming around thinking that they deserve to get over because they have a highlight that only had 10K views on YouTube. Like, that's the mentality that they get. Kenny Omega sucks. There's 20 people on the AEW roster that can already draw more than Kenny Omega has with these mid-card ass feuds while he's world champion all over the place. And he comes over just disrespecting the word of Jim Ross. And we went over like something like this before when it came over to the opinion of how Jim Ross thinks the current state of pro wrestling is over on AEW and the style that it's been portrayed. And even he knew it was repetitive indie fodder of people not selling moves. And then you lose support when these guys don't know how to conduct a critical opinion. It's not, oh, we'll try to change something to at least get more appeal for the fans, or or we respect their opinion. No, like, these guys are still like incoherent little teenage weeaboo jobbers that can't even contain constructive criticism from a man that's been part of the business more than most of the AEW roster, other than Sting. And that's just unprofessional as hell. Like, Kenny, really? Over a mistake that your commentary make over what Jim Ross made just months ago, you try to put that over on blast? Call him an e-drone dimwit that accidentally called him the WWE champion? Kenny, grow your ass up. You wrestled a child. You kiss man. You're a weirdo, weeaboo indie jobber that keeps hiring Joshi jobbers that never draw a dime for your company, and now you're moving over into TBS. Be grateful enough that you're still on national television. AEW is a super indie flop that you're not even the biggest draw for, and that's a fact. Not consistently drawing 1 point anything since 2019 is not a good look, Kenny. Like this is immature. This is purely immature. Undertaker talked about the current state of WWE's wrestling and how he doesn't even care about watching the show. At least Drew McIntyre is like, oh, I respect our current roster. We have plenty of amazing athletes, and I'm sure like we try as hard as we can to make the show. Like Drew, even though like most people respected and knew Undertaker's comments, to be honest, like Drew tried his best to still like defend, like show respect to the Undertaker and still support his co-workers doing that. That's massive respect for Drew McIntyre for even doing that because the man looks like a wrestler. And you just coming over, just disrespecting Jim Ross because of his opinions over his point of view because he actually has a tenured, more of a tenured in the wrestling business that you come over drawing even a bingo hall or some New Japan flop fest in the same arena that not even Japanese people care about that much. Like the majority of Japanese people don't watch New Japan. That's a lie. But yeah, that's practically it. And, like most Yuga jobbers suck, and Kenny's just a distinct example of how much like the mentality of pro wrestlers have swiftly declined, and even how to take you know any opinion backstage from probably even veteran pro wrestlers. When's the last time you actually heard any reports or anything involving anybody on the AEW locker room taking opinions off Billy Gunn, Jerry Lynn, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho, or Jim Ross, Taz, Tony Schiavone, guys that's been over in the business and been there when AEW, when the pro wrestling itself was a prime conversation in pop culture, and it's so sad. But that's my opinion on it. I think Kenny Omega's a whining, insecure little Canadian bitch that obviously doesn't know his place in the wrestling business. And so is the rest of most people in the AEW roster. Not all of them, but most of them. That's it coming from me. That's my opinion. Thanks for watching.